What is up, Debt Free Mafia? Hey, welcome to the video today. I wanted to answer a question that I deal with some clients, and that is how the heck do we get out of this car lease? That's a great question. I was kind of going through an article on Credit Karma, and I kind of wanted to review that here and kind of react to it on some options that you have to get rid of the car lease. I will be upfront, it is not easy and it is not fun. We don't advise car leases because they're not an investment. They're really just a money suck. They end up being less valuable than even financing a car in most cases. So what we wanted to go over is just the three different options that we consider. It's going to be early lease termination, lease transfer, and then lease buyout. So those are three different options that we have. So I kind of wanted to take a little bit of time to talk about those. So real quick, if you don't know who I am, my name is Financial Coach Rick. I am the owner of the Debt Free Mafia. I'm a financial coach. I help people better their money situations. I help them take what they're making now. I help them strategize on how they can maximize their dollar potential, how they can become debt free and live a life of prosperity when it comes to managing their money correctly. So that's what I do. I work one-on-one with people. One thing that comes up are car leases and how they can have such a negative impact on our budget and on our future. So I kind of wanted to go through this first one, and that's early lease termination. So and I'm going to link this article down below so that way you can go and check it out. A lot of this is coming from Credit Karma's article. But early lease termination. So as you know, there's a term that you sign up for in this lease, and you have an option in a lot of cases to terminate that lease prematurely, essentially. However, a lot of times this does not pay off. Reason being is because it is associated with a ton of fees. Car companies want to lease you vehicles to make money. And they want you to enter into a contract, so you're stuck in a contract so they can continue to make money long term. The trade-off is you get essentially a newer vehicle and you get to stay on top of the newest vehicle, all while paying way too much. But they don't want you to know that because that's kind of how it works. So if this is you, if you're kind of looking, what do we need to do to get out of this lease? Honestly, just be in open communication with them is probably step number one. Just be like, hey, this is just an absolute killer to my budget. I can't afford it. What are my options? And they'll start to walk you through your options. They'll walk you through what the lease termination process is going to be like. Things to expect when it comes to trying to terminate the lease early is that they might charge you a termination fee, which is normally the difference between the remaining balance owed on the lease and the credit you receive for the current value of the car based on that calculation detailed in your lease. You may also have to pay fees like vehicle disposal fees, transfer fees, taxes, all the not fun stuff. So there's going to be a lot of fees associated with that. It's going to be pretty daggum expensive. Not going to even lie. It really depends. They kind of vary on contracts. So you want to be familiar with what your lease says and what your options are when talking to whoever you've leased it from. So number two is honestly going to be my favorite. I think this is probably the best option for a lot of people. However, it requires a lot of work. So you just need to have this mindset of, hey, this is a burden and I'm going to have to work through this burden to get this burden gone. So the second option is a lease transfer, and that is getting essentially somebody else to take up your lease so that way you're not having to anymore. I know that there's some options as far as even websites that will help you transfer it, but essentially it's the cheapest way to get out of the lease. Transferring the lease, like I said, somebody else to take it over. It also might require that you still have a lease transfer fee you might have to pay. However, that's going to be way cheaper than early termination. That's another option. And then there's a couple of companies, and it's even mentioned in the article, but there's Swap a Lease or LeaseTrader.com. These will help you set you up with somebody who might be able to take it over. They're probably going to take some sort of essential discount, and you might have to pay some sort of transfer fee with it. If that's something that you think you can do and pull off, I think that's a really great option. It's honestly going to be the cheapest option. Go check out both of those websites. They'll be linked in that article. That way you can kind of have some options to kind of consider. Again, that's my favorite one because that tends to save the most money. So, all right. And then number three, kind of wanted to talk about this one. That's the lease buyout. Essentially what that is you are going to buy out the remainder of this lease. For example, though, if the market value of the car is higher than the leasing company anticipated it would be, the lease buyout may work out favorably for you. Essentially what you're going to have to do is come up with a bunch of cash to start to basically buy the worth of the car away from the company that's leasing it for you. I think that that's a really great option if you have really high cash flow, or you just have a bunch of savings and you really want to be out from under debt, which, believe it or not, I've had clients who have just had cash stashed away, wanted to be debt free. Terminating the car lease is probably one of the smartest ways to get ahead, so you can increase your cash flow, which is essentially money coming in and not leaving. So that way you just kind of have more cash to work with in your budget, which is something that we practice and preach here at the Debt Free Mafia. So I kind of wanted to read this last little part to you. It says that there are still fees involved, but you have to. This is also really smart, and I love what they say here, because you got to find out if it's even worth it. You need to run the numbers to see if paying off early in the buyout amount, along with the associated fees, and then selling the car yourself. So essentially what you're going to do is you're going to buy that car out with cash, own it, and then turn around and sell it, lick your wounds, and move on from that lease, and hopefully never get into a lease again. Let's focus on as far as what to do after getting out of that lease. So those are those three options that I kind of wanted you to consider. Again, it's early lease termination, which tends to be the most expensive; lease transfer, which is also lease transfer, which is also the cheapest option; and then lease buyout. So my vote is lease transfer if you can make it happen. Let's get that burden off of you and do it the cheapest way possible. That might not be possible. And then the last is lease buyout. I really don't want you to consider lease buyout or lease termination unless it really checks out on the math. Again, I can't give exact numbers because the leases can be different from car to car, to owner to contract to contract. So, however, again, 9 times out of 10, the lease transfer is going to be the best option. However, lease buyout, if you can pull it off, and it's going to be cheaper for you to go ahead and buy it out, sell it, and lick your wounds than it is to ride out the rest of the lease, you definitely want to check that out. Unfortunately, sometimes the cheapest option is going to be riding out the lease. We're not a fan of lease, like we said earlier. It's honestly just feels like a burden. You want your vehicle to be a blessing to get you from A to B, not a burden when at the end of the month you're trying to make a house payment, rent payment, buy food, send your kids to college, save for retirement. Then it starts to become a burden. So that's something that we definitely don't want. Anyways, that's really those top threes. Again, it's linked below. I'd love for you to kind of go check it out yourself. It's good always. Almost 9 times out of 10, it's going to be a good idea to go and be in open communication with whoever you owe a debt to. In a lease, we would consider a debt. So be in open communication with them. Let them know, hey, I can't pay this. I need options. What are my options? I've heard of these 3 things. Which one is going to be best? Will you help me here? They might not. You never know. At the end of the day, they want to get paid. So if you can work out a way where they still get paid and you can get away from this lease, they might be willing to work with you. But anyways, guys, if this was helpful to you, or if you want more content around being a debt-free person, living debt-free, living a lifestyle where you're empowered with your money and you're making your money start to win, please hit the subscribe button, join the Mafia. We'd love to have you here. Let me know in the comments what you kind of think when it comes to leasing a vehicle. Do you think it's worth it? I genuinely would like to know. But anyways, again, if you could help me out, hit the like, hit the subscribe. Love to have you here in the Mafia. Can't wait to catch you in the next one. See ya.